Hey guys, what's up? This is Ola, and today we're going to be finishing the layers panel and having a look at all the other things that we didn't touch on in the last lesson because we start to run over. So by now you should kind of be familiar with this section, and as you can see here I have 3 layers. So I have, again I'm going to use the Alt shortcut that I showed you yesterday I think. So if I alt click on the thing, I can see that this is a kind of eagle, and I don't have the copyrights for these, but you know, I'm not doing anything commercial with them. So I found this picture of a sunset, which is really nice, and then we've got this picture of planet Earth, which should look familiar to you if you're from this planet. If not, well, please don't invade us. So what we're going to do now is, how can we blend these 3 elements together? And you'll see up here there's a thing called normal, and what this means is, by default, if I wanted to blend this, maybe I could try drop the opacity down of the eagle, and that should start to look familiar to you already. But you know, there's only so much you can do with this technique, and as you can see here, it's not really working as we might imagine, which is why blending modes come in. And blending modes are up here, and each layer has its own blending mode. By default we'll be on normal, but if you drop this down, you'll see that they're divided into little categories by these lines. Now the first ones are for knocking out light colors. So in this case we would be knocking out white and keeping the dark colors. So what I'm going to do is select darken, and straight away you see it's got rid of all the white, which is exactly what we wanted, and that is pretty damn cool. And you'll see multiply does a slightly different job. See where darken gives you, still leaves more of the light. Multiply will burn things out a bit more. And then we have 2 others. Let's have a look at color burn. See, that's actually saturating the colors behind it using the dark information. Linear burn is somewhere like in between the last 2, and darker color is just only showing through if there's a darker color behind. So that's really useful. I think I'm going to change this to multiply because I think that's more like what we want. And so what we've done there, and we can still drop the opacity down after this, like if we don't want it quite as bright, but you can see the difference between having a multiply and then blending it like this. So it's really useful for getting rid of all the light colors. Conversely, if you want to get rid of the darker colors, we have the next set of options. So we have lighten, and as you can see, this has gone blue now, so I'm going to press down and I can scroll through these. We've got screen, which is probably my favorite. We have color dodge, which really kind of like burns and makes things more vibrant. Linear dodge, which is kind of like screen but more intense. It kind of burns things out a bit. We have lighter color, which I don't really use as much as and then we get into the other one. So again, really cool. And now we can kind of put the bird on top and maybe change that to multiply, and you know, we're kind of blending these 3 images. Alright, these 3 images are probably not meant to be blended together, but you can see the point I'm getting at. Further down we have different, I'm going to show you the other ones. So once we get into these, you're going to find they do one of 2 things. So I've probably, in fact, I'm going to make this back layer bigger just so you can see what this is actually doing. So as you can see, we're kind of overlaying the colors, but the darks are staying dark and the lights are staying light, and that's what all the following ones do. So what they will do is, they're really good for adding colors, like overlaying. So what I will usually do, hard light is like a really intense one, but what I'll usually do is make a brand new layer with my brush maybe. And again, I know that we haven't covered brushes yet, but bear with me. And if I have like the color orange and I have my brush in here and we paint over here, we can see this is like quite garish, but if we come over here and change that to overlay, you can see now we're really just adding color, and I use this to really like boost the colors of my artworks and stuff. So actually really useful technique, and it's really worth just learning all the blending mods. I'm not going to go through them all, but it's really worth kind of having a look through those a bit more and seeing what they can do for you. Now as we come down, we've pretty much covered everything in this panel now. We have layer effects, which I'm going to go through in a different thing. We have masks, which are going to be a lesson in themselves, but I'm going to show you there's a quick way you can create a new layer, which is here, which will create empty layers. As you can see here, we've got the transparency grid, so then again I can start painting and change the blending modes to whatever I want, maybe a screen or maybe a hard light or whatever. I'm going to turn that off now. And then conversely, if you want to delete a layer, you usually hit backspace, but you can hit the bin. Always note that you always have to have one layer, right? If you try and delete the last layer, that will not happen. So just a word to the wise. Also, if you want to undo, in most programs it's Control or Command Z. That kind of works in Photoshop, but you can only do one move. If you want to go back more than one move, you're going to have to do Control Alt Z on PC and Command Alt Z on Windows, and then keep pressing that to go through the various various states in history. So just a quick one to know. And then if you want to come back to the latest one, it's Control Z again, which is just useful to know. Next thing I'm going to show you is how to keep this organized. So if we right click on these, we can change the colors, and this can be really useful for if you're going to keep, like, I don't know, maybe all your color layers, you might want to change them green. You might want all your other layers to be violet, and it's kind of a really easy way to see what you're doing by just quickly saying, oh yeah, I know that all my purple ones are, I don't know, multiplied, or all my green ones are color layers. So that's a really useful tip as well. You have the show hide all other layers, which I'll show you what this does now. So this is by right clicking, by the way. So you can hide a layer, which we already know how to do, you just press that. But if you right click and go to show hide all other layers, it will do that. Now this is kind of like what I was showing you with Alt, but if you try Alt clicking, you can't really come back the same way, so you have to click show hide all other layers, but it will turn all layers in the document on and off, which is why my method is a lot better, in that if you just click Alt, you know, if I turn all these on, if I have maybe one off and I Alt click, we're going to have this, but when I turn them back on, that's going to stay off. Might be a bit confusing, but trust me, get used to pressing Alt when you're hitting the eye over here. Last but not least for today, I'm going to show you a couple of things. I'm going to show you groups. So groups are so useful. You can nest them infinitely, and what it is it's like if you're happy with some elements, I might delete this, change that off, change this back to like a normal. Say you're happy with a little section, you can select layers and then hit this little folder icon, and it will group them all into a folder. And this has many powerful possibilities, because afterwards you can then just apply things to the group. So I know I haven't showed you masks, and I'll show you masks properly another day, but what I'm going to do is just show you real quick that if I now mask this whole thing, it's going to mask everything that's in this group. So it's masking this, it's masking that, it's masking that. In the same way, if I apply a layer style to this group, it will apply to everything in the group. So don't worry too much about the fact that it's a mask. Just know that if you select a few layers, you can make groups. And here, as you can see, I made a group within a group. So we're doing kind of inception thing. It's just a really good way to keep your things organized. And I'll show you as we get into more complex comps, it's really essential to keep your compositions like really easy to use, and just so you know where stuff is. Last but not least, I'm going to show you a couple of more things about the canvas, which I forgot to go through the other day. The first thing is, if you press Control R or Command R on a Mac, you're going to get this. If you have a look up here and on the side, you're going to get these rulers pop up, and these are super useful for, like, if you ever need to align something, and you can bring them in from the side as well, and maybe you want to, I don't know, like make a square within that, or I really don't know in the case of this composition why I would use it, but it's really useful for seeing if things are lined up. So it's like, let's have a look if these two wings are lined up, and they're not really. So if you were painting that, you might want to go back and adjust it. But the good thing is, if you press Control and I believe it's the colon key, you can turn these on and off. So even though you got them, you can kind of clear them. And if you go to I believe it's up to view and then clear guide, you can get rid of them all and start again. So really useful. The other thing I would say is, if you have a layer selected and you just hit Control, I guess Command on the Mac, you're going to get this pink rectangle, I guess. And what you can do by moving around the composition is, it's going to tell you how many pixels the thing is from various points that you're looking at. So here I can see that it's 1163 pixels from up here and one from down here. And where this can come in really useful is if you're trying to work out like if something is centered or not. Most of the time, if I want something to be centered, I will select the bottom layer, I will select the layer I want to center, and then if you come up here, oh, by the way, you can select more than one layer by control clicking on a PC or command clicking on a Mac. And what we're going to do is, remember how I said we had these sensitive controls depending on what tool you have. As long as you have the move tool open, you're going to get these things which let you actually align your layers to each other. Now, because this back layer is the size of the composition, we know that this layer is now perfectly centered by just selecting them, and it will basically line them both up to each other. So that's a really useful tip for kind of centering things in your composition. So that's going to do it for today. Tomorrow we're going to be getting on to masks, and yeah, mainly masks, because masks are like such a powerful thing in Photoshop, and you can erase things. Again, I'll show you this tomorrow, but you can erase. There is an eraser tool if you look here. But the problem is, if you erase something, you won't be able to bring that information back if you undo. Whereas with a mask, it's kind of like erasing, but temporarily. But anyway, I'll show you that tomorrow. So hope to see you then, and thanks for watching.